Hello and welcome back. Our second lecture this week and for the next couple is going to focus on your cross-critical essays / the writing process, and how to help you guys get the best possible scores, not just on this paper, but to make sure you're learning the most of the skills at hand so that your future academic endeavors come easier and more thoroughly. Last week I asked you guys in your writing exercises to share your writing process with me, and a lot of y'all had really smart, thoughtful, I do this, then I do this, then I do this patterns. Many of you had, I try and do a little bit every day, which is such a good idea and such a great thing in and of itself, but there wasn't a lot of what you guys do. It's just to try and do something every day, and I totally know that, and that's the right move, but maybe there's a move forward. And love you guys. A lot of you were like, my plan is to procrastinate. And straight up, honesty is a great start. But obviously that's not your best foot forward, right? And as much as you may have gotten away with it in the past, and you might continue to get away with it for a little while longer, I guarantee you that the future will come, and at some point you will not be able to get things done last minute. And so learning the process now helps so much along the way. So you've already got started. Many weeks in advance, you already have your topic picked, or at least you should, because that was an assignment I asked you guys to complete last week. This week, I want to talk to you about how you go from a topic to, I know what I want to write about, and I know how I'm going to write about it. So, how do you go from, well, I know I want to talk about this thing, and I want to go from there. So here's what I want you to do. The next step, having picked your topic, is to become an expert on those two particular pieces. So a quick refresher, just so we're all on the same page, your cross-critical essay is a comparison between two texts, one of which has to be from your textbook, and the other of which can be either contemporary art or classical literature, just to kind of shortchange ourselves here. So, that's going to mean that you should, at this point, have two texts picked out. And your next step is to read them, and to read them really carefully and thoroughly. So, your job here is to determine everything that you can about the two pieces you'll be considering, including so that means obviously starting with the literal reading, right? What is it saying on the page? But it means extending that to include all of the terms that we've learned in class, right? Which of these are in play and how do they add to the meaning? What about the historical context of the terms in play? So the items that are happening here, right? Does any of that come into play? You should go line by line, examining and finding out literally everything that a text can say, every meaning it might have. Sort of give yourself an opportunity to explore every possible meaning that a text might have. And as you work, write down everything you think of, everything you notice, and everything that makes sense to you, or everything that doesn't make sense to you. Look up any words you don't understand and make sure that you are making the best of every poetic technique they're using, any allusions they might be making, any historical references they might be making, and that if a poem could mean more than one thing, as many of them might, that you're considering all of those possibilities, not sticking with just one thing, I think it means this, but thinking, well, I don't know, what does this word mean? This will often mean, depending on the poem you pick, spending a lot of time on like individual passages, individual lines, and sometimes even individual words, right? Remember that puns, words that spin in multiple directions, can often add lots of layers of meaning to a given piece. For your piece, if that's literature, that is what I want you to think about, all of those things, and to analyze it in intense detail. Give me every possible meaning that it might have. And if you're sort of not clear on that, if you need a little more help, guidance, etc. with that, talk to me. That works best on an individual level. I would love to set up an appointment with you guys, talk to you on the phone or over video chat, and help you get into this on a deeper level. I know that it's difficult. And I also know that the only successful methods are practice and individual learning. So, if you're a little unsure, talk to me. That is absolutely what I'm here for. In addition to that, For your secondary text, many of you will be choosing contemporary art, which might not necessarily be just words on a page. If that's the case, say you're doing a music album or say you're doing visual art, like a picture, remember that you have to also analyze those extra literal, meaning beyond word, elements just as equally. Look for, so if it's music, what is the music telling you? What sort of sound cues can you analyze? If you're looking at a film, what's happening on the screen and how can you analyze that visual rhetoric? How can you use that to help add to the meaning that the words themselves create? So as you do this, take lots of notes about everything it might possibly mean. Then type up those notes, and for every observation that you make sure you point to the part of the text that tells you that. So if you think that a poem is about, I don't know, if you think a poem is about unrequited love, right? Show me where in the text you get that. It's about unrequited love because on this line it says, oh, I love her, but she don't love me back. Again, I'm making this up off the top of my head, so forgive me for the lack of... So, again, for every point you make, every observation you find, make sure it's paired with a part of the text that backs that up. Write down all of those points and observations you've made, as well as the points in the text that point to those. These are your reading notes. And you owe me reading notes by the end of this week. Specifically, I believe that the original assignment said Thursday. I'm going to extend that to Sunday, just so you guys have plenty of time to take care of this. And so to kind of just make sure you guys have every chance to succeed moving forward. So you'll have until Sunday to give me detailed reading notes on both of the texts that you guys are working from. Looking forward, next week we're going to talk about how you use those reading notes to develop a working thesis statement, and how a working thesis statement is this plus your reading notes build into an outline. So that's going to be our plan moving forward. Again, questions, comments, concerns, weirdness, wonders, guys, get in touch with me. I do not want you to think that this is a sink or swim activity. It's completely the opposite. I would love to sit down and talk about any of this on the phone with you guys. If you feel that you're not getting the poems that I'm putting in front of you every week, that would be another opportunity. Again, call me on the phone. If my office hours don't work with your schedule, we can set something up in advance, and I'd love to do that to help you guys out any way that I can. All right. That's me, Dr. B out. Y'all have a good week.